And hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Next Round Sports. This is Chris Porter here with Caleb Culver and Jeff Amos as we're ready to jump into another busy week here in the sports world. Uh, Good evening, gentlemen.
Hmm.
Glad you're able to join us here again. You ready to have some fun?
Yes. Happy birthday, Bruce Bochy.
Yes, happy birthday, Bruce Bochy, and happy future birthday to Caleb Culver on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Happy,
is a
happy early
very true.
birthday.
and this is a
Gracias.
very busy time of the sports calendar with the NHL playoffs looming, the NBA playoffs looming, the Masters just concluding, the NFL draft. Then on top of it, you have
NBA
the
draft,
Juice
too.
passing away.
The juice.
The juice is finally loose.
Yep.
Yes.
Question is, where is he running? That's the one thing we don't know.
Are running from.
Yes.
Yep, man. True. Yep.
Well, anyways.
Very true.
We'll get into a lot of that stuff right there. But one first thing we want to go ahead and jump into here is the NBA playoffs has started. And that's actually started tonight here with the play-in games currently right now.
The most useless part of the NBA playoffs,
It
but yeah,
Really is, but that is the way it is now.
it is.
New Orleans Pelicans, LA Lakers are playing currently right now with Sacramento and Golden State playing a little later on tonight. So after tonight, we will know at least all of the matchups for the West. The East will have to wait till after tomorrow with the 76ers and Miami playing and Chicago, Atlanta. And
Yeah.
we can go through the matchups.
It's weird to see the 76ers in that play-in spot. Their perennial MVP, Embiid.
Well, he was injured for most of the year.
I know, but he's always
He was out
injured most of the
year.
year.
Without him, that's about where they are without him.
Yeah.
And they're lucky they're going to actually have him back for the playoffs. But I think with the way he was injured this year, that they kind of just nursed him along. Don't push it. Save him for the playoffs, and just get in. That's all Philly wanted to do, was just get in and then hope that Embiid is healthy enough by just resting as much as possible that you can get as close to 100% Embiid as you could to then make a playoff push.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see whether or not he even plays in the play-in game tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. Maybe he sits out one more game if they don't need him, but we'll have to find out.
But right now we have the Lakers beating the Hornets 89-80 in the playing game at the so that'll be for the 7th seed. So the winner of that will play
Denver.
The Nuggets, with the Thunder getting the number 1 seed, securing that on.
And how surprising was Oklahoma City, the way they were able to really, power through here at the end of the season and take the number 1 seed. And the youngest team to ever be the number 1 seed since they started recording it back in 1984.
It's incredible. And it's happened really overnight. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren.
They were like 3
games
back about a week ago.
Who would have thought that Chet
Holmgren
would have been be able to start all 82 games, considering what happened to him last year? Everyone thought he might go down the typical big man route of
the Embiid route.
Embiid route, yes, exactly. And then Jalen Williams coming out of nowhere. And say if it doesn't happen this year for the Thunder, they're so young. They have such a bright future. They have multiple first-round draft.
They're an average age of 24 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Their draft picks are crazy stocked right now.
So even if it doesn't come to fruition for them this year, they'll have plenty of opportunities down the road.
Which I don't think it will come to fruition for them this year, just because they are so young and they are not tested in the playoffs. They weren't even a playoff team last year. So for them to come in and actually get the number 1 seed, that's a credit. That's something you can hang your hat on. But it's a different animal when you get into the playoffs. So the way the teams play are going to be different. Am I going to say they're going to be upset by
Well, when you
whoever it
see
is that being the
somebody about
lead?
4 or 5 times in a row, you start
Yeah.
to pick up eccentricities. There's more tape to watch. You study.
And I'm not saying that they're going to be upset by whoever ends up they go against, whether it be the loser of New Orleans Lakers or the winner of, Sacramento Golden State. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't say that team's going to beat them, but I think it's going to be kind of a shot to the mouth. And with Dallas losing the last game they did against Oklahoma City, where they got pounded, of course, Luke and Kyrie they set everybody.
Yeah, they set everybody. I want to get into that later, but neither here nor there right now.
True, but that's what they said. But by losing that game, they basically set themselves up that they don't have to face the Denver Nuggets till possibly the Western Conference Finals. In the second round, they would get Oklahoma City. And honestly, I think that is where Oklahoma City, as far as they could really get, it's that next round, because I think Dallas is going to be able to beat them.
I think so too. And Dallas has beat them when they're playing their actual players. They've usually proven a pretty game. They're not getting beat almost by double the points. I think it was like 129 to 69 at one point in that last game against Oklahoma City.
The only 2 times they've beat Dallas is when Luka has not been in the game. They the first time was during that 3-game stretch where we said, hey, they got to win. It was 2 of these games when it came up against Denver, Oklahoma City, and Golden State. And Luka was out for that Oklahoma City game, and they lost that game. It was close, but they lost that one. But and then they got beat badly here the last game of the season. But they didn't play anybody. They were resting everyone, giving everybody the rest, which Luka needed.
Yeah, but I hate resting players like this.
I do
it's
too.
Stupid to me to rest. I mean, Kid did it in Milwaukee. He did it in New York. It's his MO to rest players if he has the option to rest players. But I mean,
you can't say that Luka did not look exhausted these last games. You can't say that he wasn't burnt out and he was running on fumes. Give the guy a couple days rest.
He's gonna have 3 days basically to rest.
I have no issue.
He's gonna have 3 freaking days to rest.
I have no issue with the Mavs resting at all. Give the team 10 days.
I mean, if you want to give him Thunder, give him off, but don't give him both games at the end of the season off.
He's going to be playing majority of these games. Give him some time.
Of course he is. It's not like they've gone deep in the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs last year.
No, they didn't.
It doesn't make sense to rest him. He shouldn't be tired. If he's tired, he's out of shape.
Everyone's always said he's out of shape because he's too busy pounding Coronas the whole day. I mean, come on.
Well, Djokovic is doing the same shit, but that motherfucker's running.
He's not running up and down the court.
And he played.
He played because they're going for a number 1 seed.
They were, but he still fucking played.
Sure, no, I have no problem with the rest.
That's fine. I don't like the rest personally.
I understand that, but Luka and Kyrie, the professionals they are, I'm not worried about them losing their juju and going through. I'm not worried about that. Now, if it's guys that you shouldn't worry about those guys. He's a potential MVP.
This is an up and down team all year long because we ended hot. The juju's magical back.
Okay, Gafford, Tim Hardaway, them are getting rest. Okay, I know they're not going to get back. Well, Gafford might, because all he has to do is just grab it and dunk it. That's it. I mean, that's pretty easy there. But like Tim Hardaway, Green, other guys off the bench, maybe Washington, who had his little dry spell there for a while. Okay, I can understand that, giving them rest and then wondering about they'll get it back in. But you have a potential MVP candidate and one of the best players in the last generation that's played. You don't worry about those guys not being able to be.
You have 2 top 50 players. You do. Actually, probably top 25. 2 top 25 players. I'll give them that.
Those guys just didn't have to worry about rust.
You shouldn't is the key word.
Okay, if they have rust, they're going to have maybe 2 quarters of rust, and that's about it. That's about it. That's the extent. And all you got to do is win
you
one.
Hope that's all you get. You hope that's all you get. I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks, they weren't a playoff contender until Kid left.
Whatever. Quit living in the past.
Really more of the development of Giannis. But again, these players like Kyrie and Luka, they don't have rust. Like Luka's an MVP candidate, and Kyrie has been a playoff veteran for a number of years now. I'm not concerned about them having any rest whatsoever. I had no issue with them getting any rest at all. I had no problem with it.
And that's your opinion. Mine is I don't like it.
Well, let's go ahead and start talking about the Mavericks' first round competition. The third time in 4 years they're going up against the LA Clippers, and there's talk about Kawhi Leonard may not be playing in much of this series. There's some injury talk that he might be out. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, but he's back at practice, so I mean,
he's back at practice, but is he 100%?
Well, of course he's not going to be 100% back. It's the same question, unfortunately, for Jeff's Wolves. Cat's back, but where's he at on the back list? I mean, technically, you want to stop kind of one of the big three that the Clippers put out, and if they're down one, it makes it easier to do so. Obviously, if he's injured and not playing 100% for Kawhi, that is. But I don't know. Like, to me, I think Kawhi will play, but it'll be kind of a dummy. It'll be like, you have to guard me just because I'm Kawhi Leonard, but I'm not exactly shooting the ball every time. Or he's not going to be the MVP guy that we've seen in the past, I should say.
So basically you're saying he's out there as a distraction and they are leaving it all into James Harden's capable hands.
I hope so, because Harden is going to, yeah. I mean, it's Paul George more likely he'll play, but I'm hoping they give it to Harden because Harden's going to flub that up majestically.
Of course, but Paul George can't. You can't trust Paul George. Paul George can, he can put you in 40 for one game, but he's not consistent.
Well, no, I'm just saying that. I mean, that's what. I mean, he's better than Harden, though.
Yeah, especially playoff Harden.
Careers, yes, but still, to me, Paul George is getting on the other end of
sure. So this is my whole kind of concern with the Clippers in this series. It's just that, you know, your star player Kawhi is questionable, and then you have Paul George who's on the wrong side of 30, James Harden who's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah, honestly, it's a surprise to me the Clippers are this high. I know we were arguing them about being a top seed.
It's a testament of how talented Kawhi and Paul George are. And so, with the exception of Russell Westbrook, this team doesn't really have a whole lot of depth. And so, I have some serious issues with this Clipper team going into the playoffs. And I just think there's multiple avenues for the Mavericks to win this series. I think the Mavs are going to win.
Disagree with that.
I think the Mavs are going to win this series because they're playing so well right now. Luka, I mean, he's not going to get the MVP, but if he were to win the MVP, I certainly would have no argument against it.
Yeah, there's no argument against him or Alexander or Jokic this year. I don't think you can argue any three of those winning the MVP.
You're having Kyrie playing at a whole nother level.
Jokic probably has it.
The addition of PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford have proven to be huge for this team. Derek Lively now is finally back into the lineup due to the passing of his mother. That's why he was out for the past few games, but he'll be ready to go for the playoffs. I just, this team is collectively playing so well right now. I'll be really surprised.
Playing so well.
They are playing well. Do not take into account the fact that they freaking rested players the past 2 games.
Well, they did play the last 2 games well. You said was. Like, it's past tense now.
No.
But no, I agree. I know I'm trolling Jeff, and it's turning him up.
No.
But I agree with you, Jeff. I agree. They should win this game. I honestly expect some rust. Otherwise, I would think this would be a sweep if they didn't rest personally. Just because the Clippers, like you say, age, and I think they have the Clippers number, and also the little bit of bad blood that Luka has against them from the almost fight they got into out in LA when they played each other, because the big man, he called him a flopper.
If you said that they rested this, if only the Mavs knew that the resting impacted him this much, they would not have rested at all.
Of course not, but we know Kidd sucks as a coach.
But it's not Kidd.
Yes, it is. He's ruined every team. Milwaukee Bucks fans hate him and talk about how he drove one of his players to retire.
God, this is not Kidd doing this by himself. I'm getting tired, Head.
I personally hope, as much as I'd like Luka to win the MVP, I hope he doesn't. I hope that they snub him on it. I hope that
he wanted to be a chip on his shoulder.
Exactly. I want them to give it to Gilgeous-Alexander. That's who I want to win it. I don't want Joker to win it. I want Gilgeous-Alexander to win it. And I think he has a good case for it because
he's got a great case. But
you know who else who has a good case? Who may be even finish a little higher in voting than Luka? Jalen Brunson. Look what he's done this year. I would not be surprised if because of what he's done, and he's in the New York market getting next to the number 2 seed. I would not be surprised if he actually got more votes than Luka just because of that. And I want all that to happen because I want Luka to have that chip on his shoulder. I want him to be sitting there grinning as he's raining threes down and trick shots on people and just having that stupid smile on his face that I love so much. I would hate it if I was not a Dallas fan, but I love it because I am a Dallas fan. And just because I want him to take it personally. I want him to sit there and go, fine. And I'm going to go win the finals and be the finals MVP. And then next year I'm going to force you to make me the MVP. That's what I want. That's what at the end of the day, MVP, whatever, that's great. I want a ring. The ring is better, more important. So if that
every player agrees with
motivation, if that could be motivation, if that's something he can put up on the board as this is, the driving force, which I know he has driving force. The guy wants to win. We all know that. Everyone knows that. He wants to win. But if that could help us, that would. And listen to the radio. I heard a story, heard that there was he did an interview here recently about, a dive into his life. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he's a classic car collector. He is collects watches. And apparently after he retires, he plans on buying a farm back in Slovenia and living on a farm in Slovenia for his 3 dogs and whatever animals that he has there. And actually spends the summer on a beach in Croatia in an RV that he went to as a kid all the time. So can you think Luka actually just in summer just hanging out in an RV out on the beach in Croatia?
I think it depends on whenever he gets married.
You can do that here at Lake Tlaquepaque. You do the same thing.
My brother's been to the beaches in Croatia. They are so much better than Lake Tlaquepaque.
I bet they're 1,000 times better.
Cool. But I mean, but okay, so he wants to do that after he retires. So when he does retire, how are they going to get a hold of him to get him back for any kind of like awards things or, when they're honoring players? Because if they can't find him at his farm in Slovenia, are they going to go look for his RV out of the Croatian
RV? By then, our communication technology will be like freaking Star Trek, I'm sure.
By the way, 4 minutes left in the game, and the Lakers are up 93-91 to New Orleans. Closer game. Let's go, Pelicans.
Lakers had this one in the bag.
Oh, we'll see.
Well, it's only a 2-point game now. Yeah. It's
it's tie game now, 93-93.
Oh.
I got 95-93, according to the ESPN app. But
we've all agreed that we believe Dallas can take the Clippers. We know we've got that. Could the Clippers beat Dallas? Absolutely. That Dallas could lose this series. It could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. It's not like
especially being the road team.
Exactly. But you just got to win one in LA. That's all you got to do. Win one in LA. And they've played this team really well all year long.
So what's our number? I like Mavs in 6.
I'm taking Mavs in 6 as well. Yeah. So Mavs in 6 all around. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about someone else's team. With the Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
This is an
Guess who's back?
Very
Guess
interesting.
Who's back?
I am very scared on this series.
Really?
I don't feel good about this series at all.
Are you afraid of Devin Booker?
No, I'm not afraid of Devin.
So he's going to fold like a cheap chair, and you know it.
I'm afraid of Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. I don't think
Bradley Beal can stay on the court. He's been off the court all year long. This has been like a terrible year for him health-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then he just dropped 36 on us on Sunday, and they went into Minnesota and won 125-106. My concern is that that's going to be a pretty.
They weren't worried about that game. They were just kind of just resting guys, right?
No, we were
they were playing
serious about that game. We were going for a number 1 seed. We weren't resting players. I wish we were resting players because that would make sense with our performance on Sunday. But no, I'm not worried about Devin Booker really. Durant, he'll get his, but
playoff Durant's a beast.
He is, but I think if you just let Durant do his thing and shut down everyone else, you've got to
basically use the UConn versus Purdue method. Just let Durant get his. Make sure nobody else gets theirs.
Anything else? That's the way. Phoenix is not that good. They're not as good as they were projected to be. They were projected to be at least a number 1, if at least a number 3
Top
seed.
4 seed, at least, yeah.
That's what they were projected to be, and they have not put it together. Now, could they put it together next year? That's a possibility. But I think you're primed to get them right now because Bill was hurt most of the year. They have not been able to really get that chemistry together. This is the time to knock them out, and I think Minnesota has a good chance of doing that. At least with Cat being out, him and Anthony Edwards do have time and chemistry built up together before his injury. It's not like this is their first year together. They're just figuring it out like Beal is with his new teammates. So I think you're set pretty well. I've actually got Minnesota in 6 on this.
Yeah.
I feel confident because you're the home team. I
wouldn't be surprised if they took them in 5, in all honesty.
I was thinking that, but I'm giving one more game just because Kevin Durant.
That's an understandable.
The Suns did a really good job, too, of shutting down Anthony Edwards on that game on Sunday, and that was a concern.
That is, but they have not played great defense consistently throughout the whole season. They were able to put together one game, but can they do it in a 7-game series? I don't think they can. They have not been able to prove they could do that since they went to the championship and lost to Milwaukee. And they what was his name? Forget it right now. Former Maverick. Who's SEC? He was the Big East Player of the Year. Then he went to Phoenix. Then they traded him to Milwaukee. Remember, long hair, defensive player.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
talking about. That guy. Yeah, it was like a forward.
Yes.
Oh my! Why
can't I can't. Yeah, I'm going blank on him too. He was a good player. I was mad when they traded him. Crowder,
yes. Once they let Jay Crowder go and they sent him over to Milwaukee, their defense plummeted. He was the only guy on the team that actually played defense. He was like when Sean Marion came to the Mavericks before they got Tyson Chandler.
Right.
The only guy he was the guy you could put on anybody and shut him down, but nobody else could play defense because Jason Terry didn't play defense. Dirk, he'd flap his arms around. But
Kid could play it occasionally, but he was too old to play it constantly.
Yeah.
But he did a great job against Kobe in that series.
Oh, he did because he could get down there and muscle up with him more than anyone else down in the post. And that was the thing is that Kid could post you up and he could post up small guards. That's what really helped down there. But yeah, I just defensively, they did it one game. I don't see that happening for a 7-game series. And if it does happen every single game for a 7-game series, then your coach needs to be fired because he can't make corrections from game to game.
Yep.
The key obviously will be how healthy Karl-Anthony Towns is. If he's fully healthy, then we have a really good chance of winning the series. But I guess at the same time, Naz Reid has done really good in his absence. So if he needs to be the one to step up, maybe he can do that as opposed, and then Karl-Anthony Towns will just be sort of an afterthought, I guess. But
don't forget about Anthony Edwards.
Maybe he'll be your third wheel.
I think my concern too is Anthony Edwards has run out of gas because he's had to.
You were trumpeting his horn 2 weeks ago about how he was the best you've ever seen. Next Michael Jordan,
because he is. Because he is. And
he's not going to be out of gas.
He's out of gas,
you're going to make that comparison. I think he's going to take what happened this last game personally and come out there and prove something in game one, especially being in a home again. You're not going to have two bad back-to-back games at home bad against the same team. I see him coming out and doing this. If he doesn't, then he doesn't deserve all these accolades that he was getting early in the year of how he's probably the best player in the league. If he's gassed out by now, come on. He's too young to be gassed out.
Maybe I shouldn't jump off the ledge just yet.
No, you shouldn't jump off the ledge. There's no reason to. You have every reason to beat this team. Phoenix is not that good. They've proven it all year long. If they were, they wouldn't be a 6th seed. And barely getting in with 6th seed.
Yeah, they were fighting to get out of the playoff tournament.
They were. It took everything that they had to get out of that playoff tournament. They had to get some losses there from New Orleans and the Lakers to make that happen. So don't jump off the bandwagon. You're the third. You're the third overall seed in the West. The third overall seed, and you were in the running for the number 1 overall seed. Don't jump off the bandwagon because you're going up against an older Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, who's a complete fold artist that we know of, and an injured Bradley Beal. There's no reason. You're overthinking it. Stop it.
All right. Not going to give up.
Yeah, I sound like I'm a Timberwolves fan now. Good God.
Right.
Yeah, I like it.
Honestly, I'd be more worried about what Milwaukee is going to be doing with Giannis injury than I would your Timberwolves not making it out of the first round.
And to me, I think the Pacers have a fantastic chance of winning this series.
They've had a great offense all year long, so if they can
good defense this year too. They've shut down a lot. They shut down the Mavericks both times they played them. Put 130 up on them each time.
I think that's the Rick Carlisle effect a little more than their defense prowess.
Carlisle's been gone long enough now, though. It's not the same team. This is a completely different team.
It's a different team, but Texas seems like to fold against their old coach.
Well, that's true, but Luka is really the only player. Luka and maybe Tim Hardaway are the only players left from the Carlisle regime. Everyone else, well, no, Maxey. Kleber's still there. Yeah.
No, but I mean, this is the Carlisle identity is gone now, in my opinion. So, but back to this Pacers Bucks series. I think the Pacers are going to win this series.
I would not be surprised, especially if Giannis is not able to play. If Giannis is not able to play, they're going to be in trouble, even with Dame, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez. I mean,
and Damian Lillard.
I said Dame.
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear him.
Right.
My bad.
Right. I mean, Giannis is the best player on the team, but Dame is definitely next up.
You got playoff Dame.
Giannis out. And if you get playoff Dame, watch out. I mean, Damian Lillard with something to play for, he may not want to go out. He may unleash something. If that's what as a Milwaukee fan you have to hope for, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
He's dealing with some injuries too. He's got a groin strain and an abductor issue apparently too. So he's not exactly 100% either.
Now Milwaukee, they were set before this Giannis injury. They had lost a couple of games, but they were still primed as the team that can knock off Boston. But with if you don't have Giannis, they're going to be fighting to get past. If they get past Indiana, I'll be surprised. I'll be very, very surprised. It's going to take a huge effort from Dame for that to happen. But I just don't see it happening. Indiana's played too well this year.
Or, either Milton or Leonard's gonna have to step up big, or they both got to step up at least a little. One of the two.
And the Pacers have beat they're 5-0 against the Bucks this year. 5-0, and that's with Giannis.
Right.
So, and now there's no Giannis. So in my mind, I just don't really see how they can win the series. And
the only question I would have is if those games started early in the year, or if those were later in the year wins.
No, these are early in the year, so therefore, it's not like Giannis wasn't playing then.
No, but I mean, teams change throughout the year.
Yeah,
and you also had the Doc River episode. Yeah.
And I don't know. In hindsight, there's been a lot of ups and downs with this whole Doc Rivers tenure since going there. It looked like it started off really bad. Then it's like, okay, you understand why Doc got brought in, and then now it's gone down again. Now, granted, that could just be in relation to the Giannis injury, but this Indiana team, even with Giannis,
they were going down even with Giannis.
Yeah,
they were on that downward trajectory.
This Indiana team has had full control of the Bucks all season long. Now they're going against them with no Giannis. Tyrese Halliburton's a hell of a player. Miles Turner's a hell of a player.
Pacers easily got a great shot
has been a huge pickup at the deadline.
I like that pickup. I really like that pickup.
And there's just too much firepower for the Bucks to deal with. I think the Pacers win this series. I think they win this series fairly easily. I think they win it in 6 games.
I mean, if they get the jump on them, they could easily win it in 5 too.
I'm calling 5. I think they're going to win it in 5. I really do.
And honestly,
they very well could.
I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if this was a sweep by the Pacers either.
It could
Assuming Giannis doesn't even show up.
I think that Milwaukee will lose game 1. I think they'll rally in game 2. But I think after that,
it's possible.
It's going to be a beat down from that point on, especially going back to Indiana 1-1. I think it comes back to Milwaukee 3-1. 3-1. So is it 2-3-2 this first round? I can't remember. Or is it
2-2-1-1-1?
2-2-1-1-1. Okay. So yeah, I couldn't remember which way. It keeps flip flopping on me. I keep forgetting every year.
Yeah, but
I see it going back to Milwaukee for game 5 with Indiana up 3-1 and just the complete wind out of the sails for the Bucks at that point. Unless Giannis comes back in that game 5, I just don't see that. I see it going out 5 and going to 4-1. But I do see them rallying in game 2, but I just don't see it happening much more. That's my call. So I think Indiana wins it.
It's possible too. Like I said, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sweep, win in 5 or win in 6. What's going to surprise me right now is if the Bucks actually pull this out.
Well, what's more surprising? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, unless if you're about to say it, what I can't think of anything that's more surprising is how out of nowhere the Orlando Magic got the 5 seed.
Actually, that's right. Where was I going? I thought you were going to stay on with the current one.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Talk about the next game. Next Cleveland and Orlando. And as we said, as Jeff just said, and as we said at the beginning, how did Orlando just sneak into the 5th seed so quietly? No one talked about Orlando on the national broadcast. No one has said anything about Orlando. They just quietly got there. I'm like, wait a minute, Orlando's in the playoffs? I had to do a double take when they showed the final standings. I was like,
well, it's because the East is just bad, in all honesty. But I mean,
it is. It truly is.
Banchero is like their number 1 player, but
Orlando's been so bad the last 5-6 years. Like they haven't even sniffed the playoffs. They've been a cellar dweller. I mean, good for them. Good for the Magic being somewhat relevant again. That's great. But to me, in this series, I don't know if this will be a sweep, but I think it's at least a 5-game series. Cleveland's going to win this. This is for Donovan Mitchell to prove that he's not a choke artist. And he's going to get to do it against just like Oklahoma City, a team that's young, that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, and needs to learn how to win by getting beat down. This is the perfect matchup for Donovan Mitchell. It truly, truly is. He's going against a young, inexperienced team, first round of the playoffs. This can get him into the second round where he'll get destroyed by whoever he plays next. But
agreed. But this is such a fun Magic team, though. And also, too, it goes back to the fact that, hey, you could put together a team from college basketball players like Paolo Banchero. He's their best player. You have the Wagner brothers, and you have Jalen Suggs, who's
sounds like an old West Gonzaga.
Game. And then you have Wendell Carter from Duke. I mean, these were outstanding college players, and then they've been able to replicate that at the next level and take Orlando out of nowhere to a 5 seed. So I think this is a fun Orlando team, but I agree with you, Chris. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is just at a whole other level. This establishes him to take himself to a different level. And also, too, you have Jarrett Allen and Mobley. Those are kind of a mini twin towers that you have going on there. And then not to mention Darius Garland as well. So there's just
the Cavs have been good this year. They have been fair. They have been pretty good this year, I do have to say. Cleveland has been a decent team to watch. They haven't been as bad as everybody thought they would have stayed. They, bringing in Donovan Mitchell helped a whole lot, but these other younger guys have really stepped it up and have really played extremely well. So I do see them beat Orlando, but yeah, I don't know, especially matching up against Boston in the next round.
They're going to get swept or losing 5 games.
That's going to be a rough matchup for whoever comes out of the series.
Boston, or the Bucks pull it out with Giannis. This might be interesting.
Now, of course, we're saying that, but Boston needs to prove they can get past the first round. Because they did that last year. They got beat by the number 10 Miami Heat. So they have a lot to prove as well. As dominating as they've been in the regular season, they still have to prove they can get past the first round as well, too.
And also, too, they have Mavs killer Max Strus on their team.
Yeah, that is true.
But let's see. It appears that the Lakers, it appears that the Lakers have won this game and beaten the Hornets, and so therefore we'll have the Lakers in the.
Thank you for looking to the future. I got 2.7 seconds left on mine.
You're out. Yep, Lakers won that game.
So
that's one thing about YouTube TV is I love it. I really do, but I feel like my games are a little bit behind everybody else.
They are.
When I'm watching the NFL games, I literally
especially a landline like Jeff's.
Yeah, I keep
my got an old school landline's going to be faster than YouTube TV.
I keep my phone off to the side when I'm watching the NFL games.
For the price.
Loot, because I've had too many people like, "Oh, congratulations, way to win!" And I'm like, "What? Huh? Or touchdown? Yes." And I'm like, oh well, now I know.
Or I get an alert from ESPN. I'm watching a game that's already technically started, and all of a sudden, hey, welcome to overtime. I'm like, fuck, I'm still in the third quarter.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Very frustrating. Yep. Now I see the win.
But do we have any initial thoughts? Lakers are red hot coming in. Do we think they have any chance of knocking off the Nuggets and Jokic?
Absolutely not. They have no chance whatsoever. The Nuggets are going to beat them, and they'll beat them in 6 games. 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, I could see something along those lines as well. I don't think it's going to be a complete beatdown by any means. I think the Nuggets are a little more.
Depends on Anthony Davis's health on how long the series is going to go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're good. LeBron's going to win you 2 games by himself. By himself, he could win you 2 games. He could.
He can. He could. Yeah.
But you need a healthy Anthony Davis to even get a 3rd game, and I just don't see him being healthy enough the entire time to, especially banging down low with the Joker. The Joker doesn't like to get banged, but you know what? Neither does Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis is a lot more frail when it comes down to it. Yeah, I see this being a 6-game series. Denver will win in 6.
Agreed.
All right. Well, we'll have to talk next week after we get into the actual first rounds going on. I know the Mavericks and Clippers get kicked off on Sunday, but I then will know who's won the late night game, Sacramento Golden State tonight, and tomorrow Philly, Miami, and Chicago, Atlanta. So we'll actually be able to jump into these. We'll already have a couple of games under the belts for these teams. We'll be actually see how these series are going, and if the matchups we already know are going the way we said, or if they're not, we'll have to eat a little crow and just see if we can figure out how the teams are going from on. So we'll go ahead and take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a few moments where we're going to talk about this weekend's big news, or the big sport going on this last weekend, the Masters, and Scottie Scheffler winning his 2nd. We'll be back here in just a few moments. And welcome back from the break, as we're ready to jump into the next round and talk about the Masters, which completed this week. To me, the Masters is the official start of spring. This is when, you watch
with all those birds chirping, it would be.
Everything is so green, and to me, spring has officially begun. I know the beginning of spring was March 20th. Don't care. That doesn't matter. The Masters is the official start of spring to me. And say what you say, whether you like the tournament, about the history and everything of where, how they have handled everything. This is still the Super Bowl of golf. This is the biggest tournament in golf. This is the one that everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win the green jacket. That's just what it is. And I love this tournament. And a lot of people this year found it a little boring, didn't find it as exciting, as riveting as years before, where there have been playoffs and, close matches. But I still thought this was a great Scottie Scheffler able to get his 2nd green jacket.
He had a great finishing run for sure. Like, I thought Morikawa was going to give him a run for his money. Then I thought Homa, and I'm probably saying his name wrong.
Homa, that's correct.
Was going to kind of creep up there too, but neither one could really keep it up. And Fleetwood Mac, good for him, finishing strong. Mr. Tommy.
I thought this was actually, I was not bored by this Masters at all.
Neither was I.
This was very exciting to me, especially when it was after 7 holes, when it was a 4-way tie for the lead between Scheffler, Goldberg, Homa, and Morikawa.
That's because Scheffler kept missing the dang green at the start. He chipped it over, and then I think he had 2 in the crowd at least to start his final round when he got near the green.
See, Scheffler is the best irons player in the game. I'll tell you that. He is. He's the best irons
player. His recovery was good on both of them. I'll give him that. The thing is, what's
Scheffler's big thing? Scheffler should have won more tournaments than he's won. The reason he does is because it's putting. It's putting is what always kills him. He'll end up, I mean, he even on the 18th, he had a triple bogey on day 2. It's just every single time he just gets in his own head, he rushes himself there on the putting green, and it gets him every single time. Go ahead. Sorry, Jeff, I cut you off. Continue.
Oh, no. I was just saying that when it was a 4-way tie at 6 under par, I literally had no idea who was going to win. And that's been a difference in these past few Masters. I feel like even as soon as after 6 or 7 holes in the past couple years, we've had a great idea on who is going to win. But then
even when it came into a playoffs, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I had no idea who's going to win this. But then, as time went on, when Scheffler birdied 8, 9, and 10, then at that point,
that's the hardest part of this course too. 8,
right.
9, 10 that's where you're really getting through the hard part here, coming through this.
Right, exactly. And so even with Scheffler dropping 1 and 11, Morikawa got a double bogey on 9 and 11. Oberg got a double bogey on 11. So at that point, it was really over. Then Homa double bogey 12.
That's when I would say that's over.
That's
there was nobody close to him at that point.
Everyone else made mistakes, and Scheffler didn't. He didn't make mistakes. He was calm, collected, and he did not make the mistakes. And that's how you win at the Masters. You don't make those small mistakes there, and that's usually what happens most of the time there at the Masters. Is some guys will push forward and they'll make a mistake, as Morikawa did. What's his name? Martinelli against Tiger when Tiger won it last time.
Oh, Molinari, yeah.
Molinari, they were close and close there at the end of the game with Koepka as well, but Koepka and Molinari made those mistakes there around that middle of the course, and Tiger didn't. He was able to push on through and not make the mistakes, play solid golf through, and that's how you have to do it to be able to win. You don't have to play excellent. I mean, Scheffler won 11 under. Tournaments before this, the guys are winning 20 under, 25 under. This is a hard course to do. The greens were running really fast this whole weekend.
Right. And the wind, too.
Augusta is always tonight. We had the wind. They had 40-mile-an-hour wind on Friday. I mean,
yes,
which is rare there, but it happens. That's part of it. And, Augusta is not an easy course to play. It's proven that. But if you're in contention on Sunday, all you have to do is minimize your mistakes and play solid golf. And that's what Scheffler did. When everyone else made mistakes, he played consistent, but that's his MO. He's been playing consistent all year long. From the start of this year, from January till now, he's made $14 million because he's been finishing either winning. He's won now three tournaments, and he's finishing in the top 5, top 10 every single time. He is consistently good. Now, does he need to work on his putting? Absolutely. I preach it to my son. Like, this is why you have to work on your putting. You have to learn to putt. Putt first. Everything else can come later. You have to putt. Ask John Daly. He'll tell you the same thing. He's said it multiple times. Learn how to putt. When you learn how to putt, you can drive the hell out of the ball later, all you want. But learn how to putt. But even with that, he's still the number one golfer in the world. And there's no...
Yeah, and he's the youngest golfer to win 2 Masters.
I think Woods is still Nicklaus and Woods still may be the youngest, but he's up there.
He's up there with it. That who else is going to be? Who else at this time? Because he's 27 years old now. To start putting into the talks of the greatest, yes, winning 2 Masters at 27 gets you some talk, but those are the only 2 this is the only major he's won. He's only won the Masters. He hasn't won the U.S. Open. He hasn't won the British Open. He's got other majors that he needs to win to start building this, legacy.
The legacy. Yes.
And that's the thing. He's got to start building this. So he's got to start playing, winning some of these other majors.
He's got to build his own green jacket closet, is what you're saying.
Well, he already has his closet with 2 of them in it. I mean, that's
what I'm saying. But he needs a closet full of them, though.
Yeah, well, he needs a closet full of other majors, is what he needs. Not the green jacket part is fine.
I mean, okay, say if he even wins the Masters again, that he can then say, "Hey, I'm one of the top golfers to play," but he's not going to be in the Tiger Woods, Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus realm. To get in that, you need to have,
other major championships.
You've got to win. You've got to win them all. You got to win every single major championship. And that's
you got to be a Pokemon champ, apparently.
That's what's holding Rory back, because Rory has yet to win the Masters. That's what's holding back. Same thing for Brooks. Brooks has not won the Masters. That's the one that has eluded these two guys.
Yeah, well, did Brooks even make the cut? There was a lot of players that surprisingly didn't make the cut.
We're going to go
Brooks
through
made the cut.
Because Spieth didn't make the cut.
He had a bad weekend. Brooks did, but he did make the cut. We're actually.
But Tiger Woods made the cut, though.
Tiger Woods made the cut. He did finish last after the cut, which a lot of people started saying, "Is this tarnishing his record? Is this ruining his record?" No. I'll tell you right now, it does not matter. What needs to be said is he made his 24th consecutive cut at the Masters. That's what it was. He made the cut. That's all he needed to do.
Now, the only thing would be that it was a high number for the cut.
It was 6
over. Yeah, but he made it at 1 over though. He was one above what the cut line was. Oh, he was 5 ahead of what the cut ultimately.
He was looking good. He was looking good when it came to it, but it finally came down. He had, of course, on Saturday his worst round ever at Augusta, and then he did not have a good round on Sunday as well, which brought him down to where he finished in 60th. But he has nothing to hang his head about. There was a story that he flew his son in for, to give him a golf lesson.
But, which I thought was just funny.
I think it was. It was just having it. Hey, you wanted your son there. That's not a big deal to me. He made the cut. That's all it was. What he needed to do was come in and make the cut. And that's what he did, because we have not seen him play, relative good golf in a long time. And for him to make
the cut, finish a tournament too, even
exactly, he hasn't made the cut.
A major tournament, I should.
How many times? It's been a while. So for him to make the cut, that was good enough.
And Mickelson made the cut too, I believe. So he's getting up there in the cuts.
So last week we went through the actual Masters favorites that was on the Masters app. This is who they had listed as their favorites. So I have all of these players written down, plus Jon Rahm, who was the winner of last year, who we added on. And these are all where they finished and what their stroke count was at the time. So just going right down the list, of course, Scheffler he won it all, 11 under. Tony Finau tied for 55th, 13 over par. He had a rough week, and it hit hard on Saturday. He made the cut, but after the cut, he just spiraled down. Rough for Tony Finau.
Shot an 80 on Sunday as well.
Terrible. Brooks tied for 45th, 9 over par.
Yeah. The amateur made the cut, though, too.
And playing with Tiger Woods. Did get to play with Tiger Woods. It's from Mars, Pennsylvania. I can throw a rock from my house and hit Mars. It's right down the road. Went to Central Catholic. 3 years at James Madison, and then did his senior and graduate year at Ohio State. So local to me over here for this kid. Came up to the First Tee Pittsburgh program, which I want to get my sons into as well. The Gala tied for 45th, also 9 over. Big surprise for me, Viktor Hovland missed the cut at 8 over. He had a terrible first 2 days. He did not look right at all, and that's not the Viktor Hovland we've been used to seeing. So seeing him,
there's a lot in his head going on right now. He's had half a dozen swing coaches in a span of 12 months. I think he's just overthinking things.
He's got the yips.
The last thing that you want to do going into a major is having mental issues, and it's not a good spot.
Maybe needs to read the Subtle Art of Not to Give a Fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe.
Also missing the cut, Jordan Spieth, 9 over, and he just was atrocious on Friday. And I know there was the win. Win was there, but he just looked god awful. It was so bad. And then, of course, no surprise, Justin Thomas also missing the cut, but he was also 2 strokes above Spieth and a stroke above Hovland with 7 over. But did not look
He
good.
should never. And how many times did we say last week how he should never have even been remotely in the conversation?
Oh.
Sure enough, missed the cut.
But he did better than Koepka.
Jon Rahm.
No, he did.
with-
No,
I thought you
Koepka did
said
the cut.
Koepka had 9.
Yeah,
No.
but
And
he
he was
made the
seven.
cut.
That's
though.
what
Oh, he made the
that
cut.
is.
Okay,
He
my
made the
bad.
cut. The cut was
My bad.
6 over. 6
Gotcha.
over and above were cut. But Koepka was 5 over when that happened. Jon Rahm also finished tied for 45th with 9 over, and then Colin Morikawa, as we talked about, was right in the running. I would have been A-okay if he would have beat Scheffler. I like Colin Morikawa. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good golfer. Had a rough stretch though, and he ended up tying for 3rd with 4 under. But that's where all those players did. Now, the story came. Few other ones I just remember off the top of my head. Dustin Johnson did not make the cut. Finished near the bottom. When it came, I don't remember what his stroke total was, but he did not look good at all right that. But the story came out that I heard with Zach Johnson, and Zach Johnson was the captain of the Ryder Cup this last year, and he ended up finishing, I think, what was it? I can't remember which hole it was, but he ended up getting a triple bogey on the hole, and when he did, the crowd started giving him the golf clap and cheering to where he yelled "F you."
Really?
There is audio of this happening, and was interviewed afterwards.
He was interviewed afterwards.
He's like, he was asked about it.
I don't need a pity party.
And he, while smiling, goes, "Yeah, I can't really hear what's going on behind me with the crowd. I couldn't hear what was being said over there. I was really just talking to myself because I just had a bad hole." Okay, you're a liar, because no one, when they're mad at themselves, says "F you." No one says that when you're mad at yourself. Now, if you're mad at yourself, you may just drop the F or F this or something, but you're not going to go F you if you're talking to yourself because you're mad about it. Who has ever said that when they've been mad at themselves about something because they did, messed up? No, it didn't happen. And I'm sorry.
I guess you could be a sociopath and see yourself in the third person.
That is completely uncalled for.
Everyone has to be quiet whenever they're hitting a shot because they can't focus. They need to be able to hear it. He heard what they were saying. He turned around and looked at them when he said it on the video. So, sorry, you're a liar. You were grinning the whole time. You all knew it. That's ridiculous. Stop it.
Wow. I had not heard that until just now. That's incredible.
That's
that's awful by Zach Johnson. Yeah,
no,
he's full of shit. Yes, it is.
The crowd shouldn't be giving him a pity party.
No, that's what happens.
Well, this is what happened, and this is probably why they did it right there. Is he brought in the golfers that are supposed to be best. The only live golfer he brought in was Brooks, but neglected to even play him until like the second or third day when it was already out of hand. And a lot of the other guys were like, "Oh, you should have played Brooks beforehand because he's playing better than what other guys are playing," but he was doing it just to live. This is the stories that I'm hearing. I can't verify this is all truth or anything along with that. This is the stories that I've been hearing. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is why they were ridiculing for that. Whatever they were jeering at him about, you don't go cussing at the patrons at Augusta in that way. That's just, you are a professional athlete. You're gonna get booed. You're gonna
get booed.
Trash you. That's gonna happen. You need to have thicker skin. You're being paid. You're winning millions of dollars. You're a millionaire. You've put yourself out there in the public space to be jeered at. If someone's going to call you a bum,
that doesn't mean you have to take it.
Yeah, you don't have to take it. But if you don't, but if you retaliate back to them, you have to take the criticism that goes with it because
yes, I agree with that.
And for
you should have owned up to it, but
you don't do that at Augusta National.
It's just like, fuck it, I don't care. Yeah, I said it.
That's all you had to say. But no, he tried to play it off and lie about it and just grinned off to the side. No, you're a douchebag.
And also, too, he was responsible for putting all those idiots like Fowler and then Spieth and Justin Thomas on the Ryder Cup.
Well, it's because they're all better. They have their group.
Well, the Ryder Cup's old news now. It's more about the Masters this week than it is the Ryder Cup. Like, that's old.
One thing I wanted.
He was just a dick, basically.
The big story, though,
dick.
Which you've alluded to already, Jeff, is Ludwig Ardbeg, the Swede, played his college golf at Texas Tech.
The Swedish chef.
This was his first ever major, and he ended up finishing second. And he looked calm, cool, and collected. Yes, he did have a few bad holes there at the end, but finished second, 7 under, 4 shots off the leader on his first ever major. And the kid looked really, really good. And this is it. I like watching him play. I think it was very enjoyable to watch play because it was like, who's Ludwig Ardbeg? I mean, who is this guy? I don't know anything about it. I had to look it up and see while he was golfing. Okay, what do I need to know about? Why is this guy up here? Why is he playing so well?
Right.
I think he's going to be excited to watch here coming up here in the future, and keep your eyes open for him.
Yeah, this is no flash in the pan. This is a guy that's going to be around a long time, and he's going to be, a golfer for the future. There's a reason why we talked about him last week. There's a reason why he is pretty high on the favorite list. His mental state is incredible. There's nothing he can't do. There's no shot that he can't pull off into your first major appearance ever.
So we're just gonna hop on every bandwagon of everybody gets hot. That gets hot, like Spieth. Whenever he won, everybody hopped on that bandwagon.
Before the bandwagon,
we talked about it last week, Pete. That's fine. I'm just saying because he's hot, we're gonna talk about him and hop on this bandwagon of every young golfer that comes along and say, "No, he's the next Tiger Woods."
He was gonna do anything, but you watch the way that he played, the way that he showed up in his very first major. No, this is the guy that's going to be going forward. And if we're wrong, I'll eat crow. I'll happily do it. I've done it before.
I'll do it too. Right. I'll eat a shit ton of crow.
You have. Be quiet. I'm just playing. I'm just playing with you. But yeah, fair enough. I'm just tired of this young golfer and he's great. Look at this golfer. Look at this golfer. It's like,
you fell asleep
do something.
During the Masters.
You fell asleep during the Masters.
Exactly, because it was boring.
Be a golf guy now.
It was boring.
Space is boring.
Yeah, but then you're saying it's boring, and then you're gonna participate in golf conversations, and then say we're wrong.
Yeah, it's all right. Hey, Caleb,
I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong about the guy. I'm just saying I'm tired of the hype that every young golfer seems to get every year just because they look good at this given time. They look good for this week. Let's see how they do.
Close your eyes, took a 15-minute nap just like you did during the Masters, and then just, then we could have woke you up when we were done talking golf talk.
It was a good 2-hour nap, sir.
All right. Well, congratulations, Scotty Scheffler, another good Masters.
He made an appearance at Inwood Tavern actually in Dallas when he came back.
He did.
Yes,
wearing the green jacket.
Green jacket.
Although in all of his conversations post Masters, when they were asking how he felt, he just kept talking about how he wanted to get home because he is, welcoming his first child. Congratulations
to the Schefflers.
But yeah, as soon as he got home, he went to Inwood Tavern, which he
checked on the family probably and said, "You know what? I'm gonna go celebrate." She's like,
if Miss Scotty Scheffler was okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Right.
That's not for me to judge. I don't care. That's his own business. If she's mad at him, she's mad at him. If she's not, she's not. I don't care. Hey, he went to Inwood Tavern. Good for him. Good for him. I don't care. As long as even if his wife was batting, I don't care. It's not my business. But
true.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up the golf talk, and we will be back here in just a moment with NFL Draft. And welcome back from the break as we're ready to talk NFL Draft. And that's coming up here next Thursday. So we'll get one more broadcast in here before the draft actually happens. But a lot of intriguing storylines. I mean, it's pretty much set in stone that Caleb Williams is going to be going first overall to Chicago. Now, if he tries to pull
they suck again.
John Elway, Eli Manning holdout, we'll wait to see, because I still think that's kind of a wild card with him and his dad representing himself.
Right. But barring that, he is the number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chicago made that clear when they traded Justin Fields over to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
That they made that clear as day that yes, we are taking Caleb Williams. But everyone knows about all those draft picks and who going in the first couple rounds and go in those first couple of picks. But what we will just want to talk a little bit about tonight is where do we think our 3 teams are going to go? And of course, next week we'll get into a little bit more in depth of where we think maybe the first 10 are going to go and how we think very narrow it down. But right now we'll go ahead and start out. Jeff, we'll start with you. Cincinnati, where do you think your Bengals are going to go with their first pick?
I think offensive line. It has to be offensive line. Even though we did pick up Trent Brown in free agency to solidify the right tackle position, he's over 30 years old, and it's not like he's been a world beater in New England, and he's just been a very average offensive lineman. So I think someone that has versatility at the guard tackle position, or that could just be simply a right tackle for the Bengals would be huge. Therefore, we could have Orlando Brown and a solid rookie right tackle or guard for a while. Then we can move them over to the right tackle position. I think that's imperative for us at this point.
No, fair enough.
Any position you're hoping they're not going for that you think they might be targeting?
I think I'm not going to be disappointed in any position they target, because I think there's.
And remind us again, what pick did the Bengals have?
The Bengals have pick number 18 in this draft in the first round. They have pick number 18. In my mock draft, I currently have them taking Troy Fautanu, who's offensive guard out of Washington, has some versatility at the guard tackle position, and I think he could be a big help on that right side of the ball. So they're picking 18, and also too, I think wide receiver is another position they could look at. Tyler Boyd's a free agent now; he's not going to re-sign. You have Jamar Chase. We just put T. Higgins on the franchise tag, so he may.
And you haven't traded him yet.
No, there's talks about him getting traded to Minnesota for Justin Jefferson, but I think wide receiver is a possibility at 18. So I think either of those 2 spots would be huge for the Bengals in the first round.
Would you take an 18 and T. Higgins for Justin Jefferson? Yeah. That's all it took. I think it would take more, but you would take that.
Well, I think what it was is that I think it was 18 and another first and T. Higgins to get
Yeah,
Justin
that
Jefferson.
sounds like what it would take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would you do it?
Yes, I would at that point, absolutely. And that would make the Bengals have unstoppable wide receiving core. I think you'd have the two.
You just need a line to protect your QB at that point. Give him time.
Well, then you're putting all those guys. Basically, you're the LSU. You're the LSU Bengals at that point.
That's correct. Yes, it would just be like a repeat of the national championship team that slaughtered Clemson in the national championship in 2020. So, yeah, I'd be in all favor of that. But I think offensive line, also to a lesser extent, I think defensive tackle is a position that we could address as well. Yes, we did pick up Sheldon Rankins in free agency, but he's over 30 years old at this point. So I think we need some depth at the defensive line spot, particularly the defensive tackle, perhaps an edge as well, secondary. We could use an extra corner, but to me, the offensive line and wide receiver, their main focus going into these early rounds.
All right. Well, that's good insight there. You're into the Bengals. Caleb, you're up next. Who do you want your Bengals to get, and what pick do they
Don't you dare say my Bengals. My Ravens, sir.
The Ravens. Whatever. I don't care.
I know you
I don't care. Your Ravens, your purple team. And what pick do they have, and who do you think they're going to take? Who is it you want them to take, and what position do you not want them to take?
Yeah, just ask me everything at once, why don't you? But no, they're picking 30, of course. I know. Same basic thing. We gave the rundown. We gave Jeff. But they're picking 30. I see them going either offensive line or edge. In particular, I see them going as an offensive tackle or an edge. But we'll have to see how that goes. I think most of the good edges, the great ones you talk about, will be gone by the time the Ravens pick at 30. But I expect a tackle or an O lineman to fall. I would not be mad about Gunta from Oklahoma, or I'm going to butcher the guy's name, Falojow from Oregon State. Either tackle falling down to us.
Fuaga.
Fuaga, yeah. Thank you. I would not mind either of those guys falling to us, and that would be an understandable pick with our offensive line ejections that we had this offseason coming into play. I think we're better suited to rebuild our line than, say, the Dallas Cowboys are with some of our young players we have in reserve. So that's why I can see them maybe going edge. Now, if they stick to the best player on their board and supposedly the DeJean cat cornerback from Iowa falls, there's rumors that he may get taken. I don't really want them to take him because he seems like a glorified special teams player to me. But
I see that.
He's highly ranked right now. But I think offensive line or edge would be the ideal position, leaning towards offensive line this late in the draft.
That's always good. Yeah, you can't go wrong with meat and potatoes right there. But what position are you afraid they might take? Especially because, I mean, at 30th, you're really having to work your draft board at that point.
Honestly, it's wide receiver because I'm afraid they're going to go Worthy or Adolis Mitchell at that point. And Worthy's just for the speed.
Worthy wouldn't be a bad pick.
He's just got the speed. He drops too much for my taste.
Well, that's exactly
Mitchell,
Adolis Flowers last year.
No, they didn't. Say Flowers. They did not say he dropped the ball.
You said.
I did not say he dropped the ball. I did not. I will rerun the tape.
You said he was just speed, and that was it.
No, I didn't. I like Zay Flowers. What are you talking about?
I
did not say he was just speed. I know.
Maybe I've
but either way, Either way,
yeah. You were a little shaky.
All right, let me see if I can rewind this tape. I liked Zay Flowers' pick out of all the wide receivers they had. I did.
We can always go back.
I thought he could be Tyreek Hill. I compared him to Tyreek Hill. I was like, if he can put it together, catch, I compared him to Tyreek Hill.
If we've got video, we need to go back and look at the video. I want to go back. And
let me go see what I can dig up from the archives, and we'll see if we'll find it.
As
but
I said,
either way, wide receiver would be
the
one. Yeah, I mean, Adolis Mitchell, I wouldn't necessarily be as mad as just because of his size and his ability to get those end zone catches necessarily. But I think Worthy drops too much, and he's gotten too much attention for just speed at the combine. And the history of wide receivers that get drafted by the Ravens is usually not very good, especially first round wide receivers.
Steve Smith is good.
Yeah, Bateman's okay.
Yeah.
All right, now
then I'll go ahead and
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, give us the Cowboys rundown.
We need to draft everything, everyone, and we don't have enough draft picks to do it.
Yeah,
they're selecting 24th overall, and
that's kind of the unfortunate thing about the Cowboys is you're so good that you draft late usually, but then in the playoffs there's this downturn or late season downturn, and you wind up picking late in the draft, so you can't get these supreme talents. Except for that 1 year you got Micah Parsons, but
they found very good quality where they draft at. And
lately, yes,
they've been able to draft very good.
Since Stephen Jones took over the draft, they've been much better.
Linemen, they've been able to draft very, very well. And I want them to take a center at 24. That's what I want them to take. We need a quality center to quarterback that offensive line.
Agreed.
I would like.
Would you take that over a left tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think and I heard this from Brian Broaddus this morning on the radio, and I agree with Brian Broaddus when it comes down to it. I would rather take the number 2 or number 3 overall center at 24 than the 7th or 8th overall tackle at that point. I'd rather have the better center because I think you'll get better quality out of that. I was
also curious if I'm guiding you to my way of saying center is the second most important offensive line position.
You're joining the Caleb bandwagon of center now.
Well, I think you need. I just look at who's the better. You're looking at that point at best player available.
Yeah.
And
yeah, like I said, they need everybody.
You can reach for a tackle. Okay, if you can reach for a tackle, you go for Mims out of Georgia, but you don't have a lot of games that you've seen him play. You can go for him. He's built like Flozell Adams. That's what he's being compared to. Okay, that's
a big boy.
I wouldn't argue with that, but at the same time, he's going to be ranked lower than these centers. So to me, I'm not just saying, okay, yeah, I'm not agreeing with Caleb fully on this, but I'm saying take the best player offensively.
Yeah.
You need an offensive line. You have to rebuild the offensive line. Take the best player. Getting the second best center at that pick is better than getting the 8th best tackle at that position. It just is.
Or he could get the best center.
Yes. If you can get the best center at the 24th pick, I'm going to take the best center than I am over the 8th, 9th tackle. That's just, or even the 7th tackle. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the best player at that position.
That makes sense.
Because that's just going to help. Because if you need to, you can move Tyler Smith out to tackle if you need to. You can. I think they're going to keep him at guard, but you have that ability to move him out there. But then if you can have the best center with 2 great guards on each side of him, that's a good base to keep going on from that point on. But I want them to go center. That's what I want them to do.
Just as an interesting side note for that, the Cowboys, as far as one of their top 30 visits, brought in the top center of the draft, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon, to visit the Cowboys. So that is something that is certainly a possibility that they can take with pick number 24.
Mm-hmm. Very true. That'd be a good pick.
I'm very, very afraid that they will take a wide receiver.
Oh,
I'm extremely afraid that could happen. I don't want that to happen. And everybody's like, well, maybe they could take one because Michael Gallup left. No. You already spent that pick on Tolbert. You're gonna ride with Tolbert. I'm riding with Tolbert as my third wide receiver. That's fine. I will ride with him and let him run it into the ground. I'm good with that. I'm not wasting a pick for a third wide receiver. No. You've got,
especially not that early. You got, like you said, those holes.
Well, as everybody say, well, CeeDee Lamb is holding out. Well, CeeDee Lamb's going to get paid.
Right.
He's going.
That's supposedly why Stephen Jones has saved his money from free agency to pay the players and stars.
Allegedly. That's the deal. We're saving our money to pay our players. Well, then let's see how it goes. Yeah. But I'm not spending a first round pick on a third wide receiver. I'm not, because you still got Brandon Cooks. You still got him. No. You can't
utilized last year too.
I mean, if they went linebacker, I wouldn't hate it, because you've lost.
You need a lot of linebackers, and I think I've seen the LSU linebacker. I want to say Eric Kendricks. I think mocked to y'all. I mean, that's who y'all signed. Excuse me.
Yeah.
From Buffalo. But there's another LSU linebacker. So I think it was mocked.
I forget his name right now, but the kid out of Texas that they drafted last year who was injured.
DeMarvion Overshown.
Overshown is to be back. I'm curious to see how he's going to do in the new defensive scheme. But you've got Overshown coming back from the injury, so I wouldn't like them to get a linebacker, but if they did, I'm not hating it. I'm not mad about it. That's just not what I would want. I'd rather you go defensive tackle, because everything I've heard about is are you giving up on Mozzie Smith and the one technique guys? You need more one technique guys that are on the defensive line, but I think I want to see Mozzie Smith in this new defensive scheme and see if this is going to, get the most out of him. I'm not in a rush to completely. I'm not ready to Taco Charlton him out of here already. I'm not ready for that just yet.
That'd be another Michigan lineman down the drain.
It would be, but I don't know if he was utilized properly in Dan Quinn's system. I just don't know if he was used the correct way. And I think bringing in the new system.
Zimmer. If you can't work under Zimmer, then you can't work under anybody. I mean, I don't.
Well, if you didn't work in Quinn's system, you didn't work in Zimmer's system. Whose system are you going to work in?
None.
So that's why I'm not ready to put him up to pasture just yet. Just let's see the new system that he comes, because he's a big guy. Zimmer likes big guys. He likes big defensive guys. That's just the way that he runs.
So he did in the 90s.
Yeah, he did. And the guys, like, especially with linebackers, the undersized linebackers had to be very, very,
quick.
They'd be very technical. Very technical. Look at Dat Nguyen, Dexter Coakley. Those guys were a little undersized for their positions, but they were very, very technical in the way that they played. That's why they actually got to play. Right. And were very successful in his system. So
he knew how to tackle.
Exactly. So I wouldn't be upset about that, and I wouldn't be upset about a defensive lineman, but no. Center. It's got to be a center. It's got to be a center. Shore up that line. Make that interior of the line, because, I mean, that can still scramble if you're using, using the free agents. And
if you're using Steele as your tackle.
You get Steele on your right tackle. Using Bass, who they signed, coming in, or, you try to look later on for a left tackle. You look along with that, but you'd have a good center there to really help bolster the running game, because you're going to need that help there in the center with the running game, since I don't know what they're doing at running back. You got Rico Dowdle as right now. I mean, so if you're
what
going to
if
do
they
that,
get the? Let me throw this out there. What if they take either the Florida State running back, who seems a little too early to take at that pick, or the Texas running back, Brooks?
Jordan Brooks. I've seen everything with Jordan Brooks going to them in the second round.
I was about to say, I think it'd be more second round, but I'm just saying, would you be mad if they took either of those guys in the first round?
I would.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a waste. You're reaching out way too far. Get the center so that you could now, even if they reached out for Michigan's running back in the first round at 24, no, I would not be happy about that. I would like him, but I don't want him at 24. Give me a center. Shore me up.
I think most running backs have a second round
at middle three. They do.
Mm-hmm.
If you get those middle three and you get a running back in the second round, okay, I'm feeling good because now I've got a secure center of my offensive line to help blow that open to give him open running lanes there in the middle, and then trusting Dak to get open on the pass and scramble a little bit to get open on the pass, but actually secure that running game and actually make that more of a threat to help take a little pressure off of him when it comes to pass rushing downs.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, another guy I just wanted to bring up real quickly that Dallas brought in for a top 30 visit as well. And it's kind of a debate if he can play guard or if he's going to play guard or primarily center, is Graham Barton, the interior lineman out of Duke.
That's who I was bringing up. That Duke, I couldn't remember his name, but Barton. He did play center his freshman year, I believe, and then he got moved over to guard.
Right. But so there's versatility there that you could play center or guard at the pro level.
All of the scouts are saying that all the scouts are saying he's going to be, when he gets drafted, he's going to be drafted as a center. Everyone's looking at him as being a center.
That's what appears to be the case.
Football intelligence, and from everything I've heard, he's like Velcro. When he gets onto a guy, they're not getting past him. They're not getting around him. He's keeping people. He's keeping hands on him. He's keeping them the way that he's, keeping them blocked off to the side. I would like it. That is who I think is going to be available when the Cowboys draft.
Yeah, if he's somehow got 24, that'd be a nice pick.
That's who to me is who I want the Cowboys to draft, and I think will be available at that point for them to get. If he goes before then, shit. Okay, next man up. But
then you have to go to Jackson Powers Johnson at that point. But then if he's not available, then you may need to go the 6th or 7th offensive tackle route.
At that point, I'm not going that far down. No, I'm going best available player.
Or do you trade back?
I'm absolutely. If you find someone who is willing to trade back and you're able to get multiple second rounds, maybe multiple third rounds, okay, I'm good with that. I'm trading back. If I don't have that center available, I'm trading back because I'm not.
Fourth round pick is gone because of Lance.
It is gone. If you could get a third and fourth round, I'd trade it back and get it for that, just to get the extra picks. I'm good with trading back and getting picks. If those centers aren't there, if the guys I believe would be better at playing center, trade back, get more picks so you could start filling in these holes. Absolutely.
I agree.
That's how I feel there. All right. Well, we'll get a little bit more in depth with the draft next week as we'll be 2 days out from it at that point. But I think we'll go ahead and wrap up the draft talk right here. We'll take a small break and we'll be back with Sports Gumbo here in just a moment.
That's good. That's good. Man, that's good. That's what you call gumbo. Poor man gumbo.
And welcome back from the break as we're ready to get into the sports gumbo, hitting all of the different topics that we haven't been able to touch on up to this point. And we're going to go ahead and start right off with the NHL and your Dallas Stars, who will play their last game of the season Wednesday night. And that is against the St. Louis Blues. And Dallas right now, they'll actually know by the end of this evening if Vancouver loses to the Calgary Flames, they will secure the number 1 seed in the West. Now, with the Rangers win yesterday, they weren't able to get the Commissioner's Cup, the best record in the league, and getting home ice for the entire playoffs. But the Ranger fans aren't going to like this, but everything I've been hearing is that they are the right team to be upset in this year's playoffs, just as Boston was last year.
Wouldn't surprise me necessarily.
There's a lot of talk about this with this Rangers team that they're just there's a lot of similarities with Boston's team last year. So if that does happen, I mean, with the Stars, we're in the Western Conference.
Congrats to the Stars for winning the Central Division at least. First time in 8 years, I think.
First time in 8 years they've won the Central. And they have the chance tonight
to be the number 1 seed.
To be the number 1 seed in the West.
I don't know. The last time they were the number 1 seed, I think, was in the 90s when they won. Or no, they didn't win that year.
No, it was the year after they won, when they lost the next year to Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you got home ice advantage to the Western Conference, that's good there. And then you just kind of see, hey, okay, well, if the Rangers do get upset on the way, which a lot of people thinking they are, maybe we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Then at that point, you have home ice advantage going into the Stanley Cup. But you have to get to the Stanley Cup. It's not easy to do.
You got to get there first in these crazy NHL playoffs. So
the Stanley Cup playoffs, as I say all the time, and I know everyone's probably going, God, stop repeating yourself. I have to. That's the best playoffs in all of sports. You never know what's going to happen, no matter what. It's great, and I cannot wait for it. And I'm really happy that the Stars, I do believe, will get the number 1 overall seed. I mean, they're 5 points over Vancouver. So even if the Canucks win tonight,
which they're ahead 3-0 now, so more
3-0 now, so they're battling trying to get it. But even then, Dallas is going to have a complete meltdown against the Blues, which I don't think the Blues ever even in the playoffs. They'd have to have.
They have already been eliminated.
Yeah, they've been eliminated. You have to have a complete meltdown to not get this number 1 seed, and I don't. That's the thing with the Stars this year. They're well coached. Every line you have to worry about. There's not it's not getting to the third or fourth line. Like, okay, who's going to score? Who's going to take control at this point? This team has been solid, and they've been playing solid all the way here through the end of the season. Yes, they had the little hiccup against Winnipeg last week, losing 3-0, but they have been on a tear, and they are a team that a lot of people aren't talking about, but there's a few people that have started making noise going, you don't want to see the Dallas Stars in the playoffs. This is a solid team, and as long as Ottinger stays healthy, they're going to be a team to worry about and a legit Stanley Cup favorite when it comes down to it.
100%. And I don't. The only thing that you have to worry about is like who you're going to draw in the playoffs, which is kind of ironic. You could be in the first round going up against the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Vegas Knights in the first round.
That could absolutely happen. And that's a team I really don't want to match up. I don't like the matchup with Vegas.
No.
But, I mean, you got to play who you got to play. I'm not scared of Vegas, but I just don't like the matchup. but I'm not scared of them just by the way the Stars have been playing.
It just sucks the way the West is like you're going to have a tough matchup. I mean, Vegas, Kings, Predators. I mean, those are all nearly got 100 points this season. So a lot of skins on the wall. And then I mean, it's going to be tough, but the Stars have done it all. That's the playoffs, and the Stars have done it all year long. And go back to our local teams.
Even though I don't like the matchup, I want Vegas in that first round. Let's get them. Let's get our revenge on them.
Well, also too, just look at our local teams and the runs that they had. I mean, the Rangers, they had the gauntlet with the Rays, Orioles, Astros, Diamondbacks was a gauntlet, but
they did okay.
They did okay.
Won every road game. The only team
won every road game.
History. 11-0.
Just think about
on this road,
in 2011, they had to go through that gauntlet as well with the Thunder and the Lakers. So at some point, you're going to have to face tough teams. So might as well get out of the way.
Might as well get out of the way and go in as the number 1 overall seed, so you have home ice advantage. And that's the thing, is they have played great at home all season long. The Stars fans show up. They are insane. I love them, but they're insane. Stars fans, you're crazy. We love you, but you're crazy.
Yes.
All hockey fans are crazy. But
especially Stars.
That's good. Yeah. They are insane. I've seen people, listen, like my wife is like, when I've listened to the Stars game or watched the Stars game, what are they yelling? Oh, they're crazy. They yell. When we watched the Rangers opening day game, and people started yelling, during the Star Spangled Banner, wherever it says Stars, yelling Stars.
Yeah.
Why'd they do that? I go, well, they're hockey fans that are there at the game. That's why. Because that's what they do at every Stars game. Every single Stars game, that's what they do. Last little NHL news I wanted to bring up is the Arizona Coyotes are finally getting out of Phoenix. And their players were told right before a game that at the end of the season, they will be relocating to Utah, Salt Lake City.
And the players were not happy from inside sources.
They weren't happy, but at the same time, Salt Lake City needed a hockey team more than Phoenix ever did. Phoenix did not deserve a hockey team. They did not support this team. They did not do anything to help this team out. The city did nothing. The fan base did nothing. To me, it was always a hard sell of hockey in the desert. I mean, maybe they thought, oh, it's cold and we don't have cold, so maybe people will come in and enjoy the cold. I don't know what it was, but you're in the desert trying to play hockey. It doesn't make sense. Now, the owner of the owner of the Phoenix Coyotes, he tried to find everything other reason.
Yeah, he's being made to move this team and sell it as well too.
He was being made, and he sold it to the owners of the Utah Jazz. So, but there has been told that the NHL will look, in the future at expansion back into Phoenix, and then he is.
And Utah also will be doing the same thing the Mavs do. The Jazz will share stadiums with the hockey team that moves up if they change their name from the Coyotes. They will share the basketball stadium, but the Jazz owners have already been told they got to revamp that stadium a little bit to make it more hockey friendly. And they've also been told that they will need to build a separate stadium at a later date to accommodate this team if they want to keep it.
And that is there. And then the team or the owners have put out on social media asking the new fan base in Salt Lake City of naming. What would the name be? And
Mormons.
I sent you guys the link for all of that. And honestly, if you got a chance to look at it, the Salt Lake City Yetis, I'm really all for The Yetis look good. I think it looked awesome, especially on the mocked up jersey. I thought that looked great. But one of the favorites right now is the Utah Grizzlies, and that one I thought looked pretty good right there. There were a lot of good ones put in.
The Yetis make
either
more
the
sense,
Grizzlies or the Yetis. I think they should be the Yetis personally. I think that
there's way too many Grizzlies in the sports world.
Oh, there are.
Some
There's
Yetis.
Bears. Yeah. Bring in the Yeti. I think the Yeti should be.
And don't forget the Bruins are a bear too.
I think this is great that they're moving to Salt Lake because, it's obvious that Phoenix wasn't supporting them. They moved to the College Arena where that arena only held 4,600 fans.
Yeah, and they didn't even sell that out.
And so now you're going to be going to a fan base that I think will embrace hockey. And you're going to be playing at the same arena that the Jazz are. So you're playing in a probably 15 to 20,000 seat arena. So I think it's great. I think it's great for the team, and it's great for the NHL that there's a team in Salt Lake right now because
I think it's great for the
hockey in the desert
fan base in Utah. Utah
right,
that
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
They've had the Jazz, which they should have changed the name when they took the Jazz. They should have, but they didn't. So I'm glad they're actually changing the name. They're not going to be the Utah Coyotes, although there are more Coyotes in Utah than there is jazz music, to have to say. But at the same time, they've embraced the basketball team. They fully support them. Even when they suck, they support them because that's all they have. Everybody's like, well, Vegas needs this. Vegas needs this. Well, Vegas has their teams now. This fan base needed a hockey team more than Phoenix ever did. And I'm very happy that they're getting a hockey team. That I think it's going to be fully embraced by the fan base. I think they're going to fully support it. They're going to get right behind it, just like Seattle did with the Kraken. Seattle completely came in and supported that team. The team's been very good and has, I think Utah's going to be the same way. I think you're going to see a resurgence in this in the Phoenix Coyotes as they go into Utah.
100%.
Staying in with hockey, just a quick blip here. The NCAA Frozen Four finished up over the weekend with the third overall seed Denver taking down the number one seed Boston College. And I didn't get to watch a lot of this, not really, just kind of dabble my toes into the Frozen Four. But Boston College came in as a heavy favorite, and Denver able to get the big upset, go 2-0 on that. So don't
Denver's
expect
only championship.
Well, yep. Didn't expect a lot of, commentary on that one. Just wanted to bring that one up as we were talking through the gumbo. And then before we get on to our little talk here about the Rangers here, quick jump into soccer. English Premier League here this last week on Saturday. Manchester City getting a big win, 4-1 over Luton Town, and taking over the number one overall spot, the reigning champions. They're in the Premier League. They're now 73 points over Arsenal and Liverpool, both at 71, who both lost on Sunday. Both. Liverpool lost first, 1-0 to Crystal Palace. And I watched that game going, oh, there's no way Liverpool's going to score. They're going to tie it. There's going to be something happen. No, they lost. And I'm like, holy shit, Arsenal has a chance to now.
What a big upset that
going against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, of course, is fourth in the Premier League, so not a slouch team. Not like Crystal Palace, who's, like 12th, 13th, 14th. But, you got a chance here. You can beat Aston Villa, you're a better team then, and then you can, take over first, be away from this split actually separate yourself from Liverpool, and then you'll be right over Manchester City. Be good to go. Arsenal gives up 2 goals in the last 9 minutes. Or 7 minutes, actually. No, 80. I think it was 83 minutes in. They gave up the first goal. Then 87 minutes, they gave up the second goal. Lost 2-0 to Aston Villa.
And that was at home
in London. At home. At home, they lost.
Home.
It was. lost at home. I didn't watch the very end. Let's see what was going on at that time. It was Sunday. Oh, I remember why. I was taking my son to a birthday party, which I ended up watching the last round of the Masters on my phone at said birthday party, because who schedules a birthday party
Seriously.
on the Sunday of the Masters? But hey, it is what it is. We had fun. We did have fun. But with that loss, that keeps Arsenal and Liverpool at 71, sitting at second and third respectively in the English Premier League. Getting near to the end. Don't want Manchester City to repeat again, but Arsenal just really had that opportunity and really just wet the bed when you have Liverpool lose to Crystal Palace earlier in the day. Just that was a kick to the junk. It definitely was. It was a kick to the junk. As a long tenured fan of Arsenal who's been suffering for so many years, looking forward to them trying to take this,
And what's even crazy about that is that's a home game for Liverpool as well. Against Crystal Palace.
It was. And for Crystal Palace to come into Liverpool as hot as they've been this entire time and to still 1-0, which Liverpool was getting some good shots on goal. It was Crystal Palace's goaltender. Give the guy a tip of the hat. He was all over the place, and he was able to keep the ball out of the net. Last little bit of soccer news I'll give is Champions League with Arsenal and Bayern Munich coming up tomorrow. They tied last time they met, so big matchup coming for that tomorrow afternoon. So now we'll get back over to this side of the pond, and we'll go ahead and talk about the Rangers here to wrap up the evening. And we did wish Bruce Bochy happy birthday, and they lost earlier today 4-2 to Detroit after winning with the Lorenzen's opening.
Looking strong in his first start for the Rangers.
He looked good. 0 runs given up. He did give up 5 walks though, and that's the thing. You gotta be happy about the 0 runs, but 5 walks.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's his first start back after the injury and getting him all back into pitching for him. But I'm happy. I'm happy with the start. I think it could be cleaned up, but
of course,
at the end of the day, you gave up 0 runs, and that to me
worked around what you walked on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Against an old team.
So that is concerning. That is concerning, but he did survive.
So Dane Dunning, it will be going up tomorrow. John Gray went today. He got hit.
He looked great.
He lost 4-2.
John Gray
looked great.
I don't get the games. I have to go off of what I see afterwards and what hits we're given. I have to look at the stats afterwards.
The issue was with Urania giving up the walk and the wild pitch. That was and then Jake Latz and also 2 in the 8th giving up more insurance.
I just hate they lost. I just hate they lost it on Boch's birthday.
I know. What a dick move.
Yeah. I like always following the Rangers Instagram too. So I get some of these stats and pictures and everything. But then I know when the Rangers don't win a game because there's never a Rangers win Insta post afterwards. But there always is after wins. So I was like, did I see that post or not? I can tell if the Rangers won or lost the game, no matter how many highlights they're showing me from the game.
What's weird is that their bats have gotten cold as of
but you're going to do that.
All the big hitters are injured.
Yeah,
everyone's injured. I wouldn't say all of them are injured, but yeah.
Well, enough are injured that it's affected the way that pitchers are able to attack this lineup. because you've got a lot of younger guys in there, a lot of guys that were minor league guys that are coming in. It's a completely different way than you're attacking them. If you still had, Young.
Oscu didn't necessarily look too great when he came up.
Duran
was okay.
Then he got injured and went down. Duran, you need more from Duran. And that's the thing. Still missing Lowe. You're still missing Young. Those are two big bats that affect through the lineup how the pitcher's going to attack through there. When you have Josh Young and Nathaniel Lowe.
We haven't really seen if Lowe can repeat what he did.
Well, he's better than
he's been injured.
But he also hasn't hit this year, so I mean,
I was about to say he hasn't had a chance to either. So
but he's better than Jared Walsh, though. So that'll be.
Well, that's why he was our starter last year, yes, and that's why we got Walsh off the free agent pile.
But I think the big news right now is that this coming Thursday, Jack Leiter gets his major league debut, and
at noon.
It is at noon.
Detroit.
Against Detroit, that's fine. You take it where you get it.
That's fine. I just hate that it's at noon. It's like this is a central time zone team.
It is. But Leiter, we need him to pitch well. It would help, especially with the way things are going with our injury bug. Of course, he's getting the start because of injuries that have happened, especially with Bradford going down. He looked great.
He did. That was
his back being pulled, but so that sucks when it comes. It just seems like this season, every time. Okay.
Well, like you said, though, I'd rather have my injury bug hit now than I would later.
I completely agree. I'd rather have the injuries all at the front end of the season. Let me get all the injuries done now, and let's get healthy so we can battle back and stay in playoff contention and then be healthy going to the playoffs. I agree with you.
You're still number one in the division too, and Astros luckily are at the very bottom at 6-13.
Which is lucky because they've played very well against us. I think a lot of that's just the rivalry motivation.
I think we've split the series so far this season with them.
So far. But you want Leiter to come out. I mean, he's looked good here at AAA. He's got 25 strikeouts to 3 walks. So, yeah, that's going against AAA talent. But hopefully he's starting to put things together. Maybe he's getting a little motivated that, hey, this team won the World Series. If I'd have been pitching better, I might have been a part of this. Right. So maybe maybe that's something that's clicking with him. Hey, if he can do it, that's great. And other good news for the Rangers is it looks like Matt Scherzer threw some BP today. He'll be throwing on Friday. He'll be throwing 40 40 in to get that on Friday. It was 25 today, 40 on Friday, and then could be looking at his first rehab start coming soon. Looks like he could be available early May, which is about a month earlier than what was expected.
Yeah.
If
hopefully that start will be the rehab start will be for the Rough Riders. Maybe we can get out there, Jeff. Go watch him.
That would be awesome. Hey, if he is healthy and he is not, if it's not him going, yeah, I'm healthy, I can pitch. Which I still trust in Bochy that we'll make sure. Mm-hmm. We don't need to rush him back. As much as I like Matt Scherzer to be back to help with what's been going on with all the injuries, and that way we don't have to go overspend on another starter from another team to help right the ship right now. That helps immensely. But at the same time, I don't want him to come back to re-injure himself to then be unavailable to us in the playoffs and later on. I mean, if we have to wait another 2 weeks, middle of May, almost to June to get Scherzer back and know for sure that we have him back 100% healthy, I'm okay with that. But it does look like that Matt Scherzer will be available sooner than expected.
And that's good. And that's a huge deal. And it just at least gives some sort of stability. Look, Max Scherzer is not Max Scherzer of 2019 or 20. 16 anymore, but it provides stability into the rotation, and at least I think when healthy can at least take some innings off the board for your bullpen, who's been atrocious so far.
Yeah, which we knew they would be, though.
Yeah, but they did make some moves in the bullpen. They did make some.
They made one. They made Robinson. That's all they did as far as adding players.
Yes, but here recently, they have moved Robinson from 7th to the 8th inning. They took what was it? That other guy that we picked up. I'm forgetting his name. Who was our 8th inning guy? They moved him to the 9th inning. And they took Leclerc and put him in there in the 6th and 7th. And that seemed to be working.
Well, it's still early, so we'll have to see.
It is still early, but you have Mike Maddox. You have Bruce Bochy.
Yeah. I like Robinson too. I think he was okay. Sorbs is still doing fine.
Well,
but he's on the DL right now.
Yeah, I know he's on the DL now, but he was fine.
That was the thing with Spores until the playoffs. He was a guy you didn't want to even touch the ball. And then he came in the playoffs and he figured it out. Right. And he's the guy that won us the World Series. Like he threw the pitch that's won us the World Series. It is, which he gets. But
and like you said, Chris, it's just like he had like a good spring, but no one wanted to do anything or with them at all. And then he has a great fall, and then all of a sudden he's a hero for the World Series, which is great.
I mean, that's what it is.
Speaking of World Series, interject one thing. Jordan Montgomery fired Scott Boras as his agent this offseason as well.
I think that's fantastic.
It was fantastic because Scott Boras made him hold out. And from reports I've been hearing, he kind of wanted to come back to the Rangers, but Scott Boras wanted him to hold out for more money. And
he tried it with three of his three big free agents, Blake Snell, Montgomery, and I forget the other one. They fell through on these long-term deals that they were supposedly holding out for, big money long-term deals.
And that's the thing is that you're not paying these long-term deals for pitchers anymore. They're not doing it because with how many guys would get Tommy John surgery, there's no reason to. And it's almost like, I mean, if you're going to be a pitcher, this is why I don't want my kids to be a pitcher, because the way you're having kids be pitchers, like even if they're in high school, they're having Tommy John surgery.
Exactly.
The way they're teaching them to pitch, it's not teaching them to pitch to not get injured. It's teaching them to pitch to go ahead and get injured so you can have the surgery and be done and over with. And then
I disagree with that a little bit, but I mean, you've got overuse as well. I mean, they're pitching year-round these days.
They are. They absolutely are.
I mean, you got club team, school team, all-star teams. I mean, it's crazy the amount of work some of these kids do and innings they pitch before they even touch a college mound, much less a big league mound. But there is technical issues teaching arms as well.
With the slider nowadays, the way that they're throwing this slider pitch is injuring people, but it gets out. It gets out. So if they're going to get a Tommy John surgery, which most guys are getting 1 to 2 Tommy John surgeries in their career.
Yeah, which is
instead of finding different pitches, no, you keep going for this pitch, which is we know it's going to injure you, we know it's going to blow it out, but you'll get a surgery, you'll come back and you'll be fine for about 6 years, and then you'll probably get another one or you'll be done.
But that's no guarantee, though. I mean, whoever's preaching that nonsense is an asinine, dumbass.
It is, because that's what it seems like.
Some people come back 1 month later and then get their second Tommy John surgery again.
True. That's
so, I mean, there's no guarantee you're going to have 6 years or anything like that. And I know you're kind of exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I understand there's some technical issues going on.
After listening to baseball people and everything along with this is that, Tommy John surgery used to be a career ender. Now, yes, it is better that you can come back from it, but it just seems like how many people are coming out immediately getting injured by the way some of these pitchers are. Look at Strider. for the Braves. He was supposed to be
you got the slurs. I mean,
National League Cy Young winner.
The arm slot too. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I say, I mean,
every guy is going to miss a year and a half now. That's just the way it's going.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And how is that? Why is that? Right. Why is that the norm? Why should you go into?
Oh, I don't think it should be.
Nobody knows exactly why that is. Unfortunately, there's a lot of theories and a lot of talk.
The way they're making their work their arms.
That's your theory. That's your talk. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's theories and talks all out there.
But
so, I mean, we don't know.
This is me just spitting this out because I'm sitting here drinking a drink, watching TV and saying that. I'm listening
and
to
like I said, I've read books on the pitching and the arm book and everything. I'm right there with you. Like, why is this happening? I mean, it's ridiculous. Like I said, I mean, is it overused? Is it technique you're pitching? Because I mean, high school kids in Japan don't have this much issue as American kids do. So why do the Japanese kids not?
Parents, well, it's also like you said, these parents are keeping their kids in baseball year round. They're going, okay, in high school, the high school coach goes, hey, I'm keeping to a 78 pitch count to go there. And they're like, okay. And then after he pitches that, the next day they take him to this travel select league where he's pitching another 78 to 90 pitches
like I said,
next day and wearing their arms out and blowing them out. That has something to deal with it as well too. And it's not expanding and having sports where they're working different muscles at different times of the year, so they're not doing
which would make more sense to me. But yeah, like you said, nobody knows exactly what it is, but I think it's a combination, like you said, the usage, the technique you're pitching, or the technique you're teaching. It's a
combination of all of that. That's just not.
Yeah, because the arm's not there yet.
It's good for
the arm
getting
can strengthen maybe over years, but it's going to take
all of it is good for the team because you're getting out, so you're doing well for the team, but it's not good for the player. And that's what.
Yeah, but it's also not good for the team long term if you're out.
True, but they know the team's already going. We know where these guys
with the contracts are. Yeah, with the contracts the way they're going, yes,
they're already going to be
what people are seeing. Finally, they should have done this years ago when these pitchers, because Tommy John was becoming super prevalent. But yeah, like I said, they're finally catching on and making these contracts shorter instead of these gigantic starting pitchers covered by these contracts.
Like the DeGrom contract will not happen again. What DeGrom got will not happen again. Period. He was the last one to get that contract.
Hopefully, so.
That's because of what's happened with all this, which, like it or love it. I mean, I know if this is the way you're gonna make a living, I want, as I've said for every player, make your money when you can make it. By all means, I'm okay with every player making their money. I said that when Carmelo Anthony signed back with the New York Knicks years and years ago, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing this to win a championship." No, you're not. You're doing it to make money. And I'm okay with that. All you have to do is go, I can make the most money by re-signing here. That's why I'm doing it. No one would have faulted you for saying that, because that's the truth. Make the money when you can make it, because when your career is done at 32, like most athletes, if they make it to 32, that's all the money you're making with that. Hopefully you've thought ahead that you have a backup plan or your fallback plan after you're done with your athletic career. A lot of athletes haven't thought that far ahead and aren't thinking of what happens after sports. But the ones that do are good, but at least you have a good base to start with. And you're good to do whatever you need to after that. But I'm all for anybody, and if you're athletic and you're in a major league sport, making as much money as you can. Do it. Go for it. Absolutely. But you just gotta you gotta weigh how everything goes, and you can't be upset if you get injured and you don't get as much money as you thought you would. It's just that's the risk you take playing the sport. But.
Right. Gotcha.
All right. Well, Jeff, did you have any other thing that we didn't hit up to this point that you wanted to talk about here in the gumbo?
I think that spirited conversation was all I needed for tonight. I think I'm good.
Fair enough.
Caleb, I know you didn't have much, but you said you didn't have much when we started, but you really did have a lot more.
But then you really did.
Once I got to
you
dig
said you
into
didn't
it,
have
so.
anything
I
on the
had to
golf, but then you wanted
push those
to
buttons. Just
comment
push
on it.
those buttons.
Mm-hmm.
All
Just when
right.
it comes
Well,
to pitching.
with that, I think that's the final serving here of the gumbo. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us here this evening. Like to look forward to next week's episode where we will get more in depth with the NFL draft and also follow in the first round of the basketball playoffs and also getting ready for hockey playoffs as well. Once again, here for Jeff Amos, for Caleb Colbert, this is Chris Porter. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us here at Next Round Sports, and we'll see everyone again at the next round. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.